Good afternoon, this is Neil Spake at Thurrock Nub News, and I'm outside the rather iconic Thameside complex building, which is celebrating a rather remarkable anniversary. It's 50 years since it first opened, and with me, the gentleman in picture behind the mask, is Mike Ostler, who has got huge connections with this wonderful complex, which houses a library, a museum, and of course the Thameside Theatre, as well as other community rooms that are well used. Mike, we're going to have a wander round, and we'll have a chat about it as we go round, if that's okay.
Absolutely, yes,
Right,
certainly. Let's
go
go.
in the building then.
Okay.
And, we're here today, 50 years.
Well, I came 49 years ago, so I'm not actually a 50-year man, but I don't think there are many of them left, actually.
Yeah. And your memories of this building, Mike?
Well, I came up from Bristol, and I've been working with the Old Vic and at Colston Hall in Bristol, and with cinemas in Bristol. And I was looking for a building that put it all together. And the new Thameside Theatre, as it then was, in Grays, was the answer to that. And it had a nice 300-seater odd auditorium. It showed films, it could do music, it could do lectures. And the building itself had the library, of course, as a source of information, great for me, and also the museum, which is another interest of mine, heritage. And so it had everything in one building as far as I was concerned.
Good. Well, we'll just have a quick look. There are many people who get engaged from the community here, one of which are the museum volunteers, who I believe have worked very hard with the Thurrock Historical Society, and there's she's moving away. I was just going to say the rather lovely Sue Yates, who writes for Nub News. And there's an exhibition here of 50 years. I don't know whether any of these pique your memory. Obviously, many pantomimes.
Well, yes, many pantomimes. One of the earlier Cinderellas, I don't think they haven't got a poster out for it. Can't put them all out, obviously. With one a year, that's 50, isn't it? Yeah. Or say 49. But one of the Cinderellas we did, we actually had two live ponies, pulling the coach.
Amazing.
Now, those of you who know the theatre, being on the third floor,
yes, and
also knowing the lifts, can see some sort of problems. But in fact, we used the stage scenery lift outside the building, and the horse box backed up, and they put a bit of straw on the floor, and the ponies skipped into it and went up. Getting the ponies to go across the stage on cue, the stage has a very, very varnished surface. And with a coach at the back, they weren't going to get very far. So virtually we were throwing the two ponies on and then throwing the flat representation of the coach, blackout, curtains closed, thunderous applause for the interval, and then the poor old ponies had to go back into the horse box to horse it.
And for those who didn't see this year's or the year just gone's pantomime, technology has moved on, and there was a rather amazing, actually flying coach. So there you go. New technology has moved on.
Not 49 years ago.
It was one of the highlights of the panto season for me, was seeing that. Absolutely thrilling. And today, there are two showings of a film of the pantomime which are taken upstairs. But we'll just wander around some of the 50 years. Right. Sorry, go on. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we sort of
touched on theatre.
Touched on theatre because the pantomime, to be honest, was a staple every year, and let's hope there'll be a few more to come. But every year you would have the panto season, and then things sort of built around that. All the local amateur societies and groups, of course, were coming in using the theatre throughout that time, and more important than ever in the future, because the chances of professional companies wanting to come and hire in the theatre to use 300 seats is probably not very realistic. So we will have to organise, obviously the pantomime each year will have to continue, and then all the local activities come in. Music, dancing, singing, drama, of course, people like the Courts Players.
Yes, and I was going to say, this is a very much used by the local community.
Oh yes, and this is Thurrock Museum volunteers have been running a series of displays weekly, no, not weekly, but every few months they put on a new topic, a new theme. They did the First World War when it was sort of 50 years on, 100 years on, and they did the Second World War sort of 50 years on, and so they've been taking themes like that, and then they've gone off and done other things as well. I mean, one quote, the Kynak Explosives, they did a very big exhibition in 2017. That, of course, goes back to the First World War. They picked that one up, so that was like 100 years on.
And of course, just over my shoulder here, and we'll move in, is a gentleman we both remember very fondly.
Jonathan Catton.
Jonathan Catton, who was an icon of Thurrock history.
Yeah, well, that's right, he was indeed. But he succeeded Randall Bingley, who was the curator here when I arrived to the theatre. Which we said was, 49 years ago. Yeah. Randall Bingley was in charge of the museum at that stage there.
This gentleman there.
That's right.
And of course
and Jonathan was a sort of assistant to him, and then obviously graduated and became the
There's the building going up, and of course we did have, in 1981, a royal visit.
Yes.
Memories of that, Mike?
Yes, indeed. The Queen and Prince Philip were visiting a couple of places in Thurrock. To be honest, I don't remember where, when she needed a tea break. So they picked this building of all places for her to have a comfort stop, and they sealed it off, literally. And there were about 10 of us, maybe, who had a pass to get a pass to get a pass to get in. And when she arrived...
Sorry, mate, sorry. Do you want a tea or a coffee or anything?
There you go. There you go. Just prove that this is live.
Brilliant.
Oh, I didn't realise you...
Yeah, that's fine.
Sorry.
It's all right. No problem.
Okay.
What you got, Mike?
So,
You get most of the sort of drink out.
Yeah, so the Queen and Prince Philip did their visits around the borough, and they drove up to the front. The mayor and a few bigwigs from the council and that were introduced outside, and then she went in, and they had to take her through the library into the service lifts at the back to get her up to the top floor of the main block at the back, so to the staff canteen basically, so she could sit down, use the royal toilet, and have a cuppa.
There you go. The royal throne in Thurrock. There you go. Go on. Go on, move on.
Yes.
We will
The
move
tea
on.
is interesting because she drinks Earl Grey. We all know that.
Well, I didn't, but there you go.
Did we have any Earl Grey on the site?
No.
No, we
There
didn't.
you go.
So June Sadler, who was the theatre secretary at the time, had to rush off and find some Earl Grey, which she duly did. And we came back, and since my office on the third floor had the only respectable china in the place, that was whisked up to the top, 7th floor, and June went up with it and actually made a cup of tea for HM. I'm sure.
Out of your china.
My famous china, yes.
Well, absolutely fantastic. And we'll just have a quick wander around. We're not going to go upstairs to the museum, but the museum itself is...
yeah. There's a nice model there.
Yeah, oh, right. Well, we'll have a look,
The right-hand model is the actual one that's built. This one here on the left was
this is
another design. But
this is what you could have had.
Yes. I wonder if this will fit on the beach at Gray's South.
Well, there you go. But what we actually did get...
However, this is the building that we know and love. Here's the theatre at the front. Here's the entrance. And the library bit there. And then all the admin stuff. Museum store, library store, office space is in the big block at the back. And some of it, of course, is let off, which is quite interesting, to generate some income, which the whole complex badly needs, because clearly maintenance for something that's that old, 50 years, you might not think it's old, but for this sort of construction, lots and lots of municipal buildings all over the country are going to have to pour a few millions
let's hope that this all comes to pass. There's been a lot of talk, whatever, but we're
Yeah,
here
yeah.
to just have a day of memories. Mike, thank you so much for sharing those. I love the story about the Queen. Let's hope that well, maybe hundreds, another 50 is too much for you and me, but maybe we can do the 75th and go through all this again.
Yeah, yeah.
That's my
Yes,
thoughts,
yes,
Les.
yes.
Thank you so much for your memories, and I hope you enjoy the rest of this very special
Yeah,
day.
I think I've got this 50-year-old suit on today, which is what we used to have to wear when we were on duty at night. I don't think it'll last me till I'm 75 somehow, but this one's still fitting.
Well, we shall wait and see. As I say, absolute pleasure to meet you once again, Mike. One of Thurrock's real characters.